good garbage is no garbage at all. It's garbage that can be transformed into a new material that lives another day and can serve another purpose.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the Good Garbage Podcast. My name is Ved Krishna. My primary reason for existence has been to find ways to leave our wonderful planet cleaner. We will be speaking with material innovators, creators, and propagators to learn from them how we can build for scale and towards a regenerative future. Their stories will help us answer the big question, what is good garbage? Hello, hello. The country Guatemala has a special place in my heart, as we have chosen to build a large compostable packaging factory there after exploring numerous locations. As it turns out, our guest on this episode grew up in Guatemala and eventually moved to Israel. Daniela Engelberg and me share this affinity and speak about it. UBQ, or Ubiquitous Materials, where she works, is set to transform waste into valuable materials. They create pellets from mixed materials going into landfills. Truly remarkable. I definitely hope and root for their success, as UBQ technology will definitely bring a big transformation and hopefully landfills will become a thing of the past. Listen and enjoy. Hello, hello. Today we have Daniela Engelberg, the digital marketing lead at UBQ Materials in Israel. Daniela, so happy to have you. Thank you for accepting more of a last minute request and coming on. We were very excited to talk to UBQ and see the amazing things that you guys are doing. So thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Hi, Beth. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
And of course, as we were talking just before we had hit record, our mutual love for Guatemala, yours probably more than mine. So I'm going to start with a quote that I've read numerous places that you've sort of said. I was born and raised in Guatemala, a beautiful multicultural country that some may call the land of volcanoes and eternal springtime. So let's start right there. Talk to us about growing up in this beautiful country and things that impacted you that led to you choosing the path you're on today.
Well, that's right, Bed. Guatemala is such a beautiful country, and I was very surprised to hear that you're also exploring opportunities in Guatemala, but not so surprised because growing up in this country, I knew that it's a gem for natural resources and that its nature is amazing and it's a land of opportunities, really. However, throughout the decades, growing up in Guatemala, I've also seen how these resources have been deteriorating. I grew up in the city, in Guatemala City, but with my family, we usually went on the weekends to the lake. And unfortunately, now the lake is polluted and we cannot go into the lake. So it is very near to my heart when you see in your country these things that are happening. 95% of the rivers in Guatemala are contaminated. The landfills do not have a proper system. There is no recycling. So all of these things have gotten me to where I am now. But besides from that, I also come from a long line of textile enthusiasts. My grandfather founded a textile factory in Guatemala right after he arrived after the war. And throughout the years, I witnessed also the evolution of our family business of this textile mill. My father, who is a textile engineer, he started testing post-industrial waste from local garment factories. And a few years later, we transitioned into a completely circular process where this waste became back into new fibers and new yarns and new fabrics. So having been through all that, also like through our family business and seeing what's happening in the country, I noticed also how the private sector can have a huge influence in the problems that we are facing today. So I think growing up in Guatemala, those are the main things that have gotten me to where I am today. And I don't know if there's something from these experiences that you also felt as you've been in Guatemala, I think 8 times you mentioned to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And your question is good because, yes, so you're right. And probably part of the reason that we were so drawn to Guatemala is, like, in a way, very similar to your experience. We felt this beautiful country and we felt that we could make a lot of impact there, not just by way of investment, but also by way of service to the community, working with the society, of course, working towards more ecological benefits as well, and of course economic benefits as well. And I think the country we felt was ready for that sort of thing. We also found, and I'd love to hear your views. We also found the power of people. Like there were so many amazing people that we met in Guatemala, and I think that was a big difference when we were choosing the country where we were going to invest so much of our time and effort and resources. It was the beauty of the people that we met, and I don't know what you think about that.
Yes, absolutely. When I say it's also a land of opportunities, it's not just the business opportunities, but also the opportunities that you can have to make an impact and to help the communities, the local communities that are so eager to be a part of something and to kind of move forward and be and make a difference as well, even though maybe they didn't have the same opportunities that we had, because it's a country with a lot of poverty. But it's in Guatemala, definitely I've also seen the local communities of women that are making a difference, and of the private sector that is also involving these communities into their processes and into their innovations, and really making a difference, because as we know, in the environmental sector everything is connected. It is people, planet, and profit, and to really make an impact you need to consider those three aspects for sure.
Yeah, and exactly. And I did find a lot of enthusiasm in the young people that they were really building something. The older people were also positive about change. And those were things that really influenced our decision. But let's get back to you. I can keep talking about Guatemala the
Yeah.
entire episode. So I don't want to slip into that. So let's talk about you. How did the transition happened for you from Guatemala to Israel? And then what were the impacts that came with that, that again influenced your choices?
Well, your question is very accurate now, because somehow I can actually connect all the dots. You know, when things are happening, you don't really notice, but then you look back and you can definitely see how you got to where you are. After graduating from high school, I moved to Israel, which is, I came from the land of volcanoes and in the eternal springtime to the startup nation. And it was also a sea of opportunities and innovation hubs where I could have an impact. I wasn't still sure that I would have an impact in the environmental sector. I was just exploring opportunities in different startups, and I completed my BA in business administration. As a young adult, I didn't really know what I wanted. So I said, I'll play it safe and I'll study business. I minored in marketing and it turned out great. I did start to work for different startups that were innovating completely different things. They were all mind blowing. But I did notice that I understood that what I wanted, it was in the environmental field. So that's when I quit my job and I completed my master's degree in environmental studies in Tel Aviv University. And in that master's, I learned too much. I couldn't ignore what was happening with the world. And one of the things that I learned a lot about in one of my research projects was the landfill problem in Guatemala. I always felt that having the opportunity to be in a country like Israel that is more advanced or that has more resources, I always felt the need to go back to my home country, or at least explore what's happening there. And I learned that there are 1.2 million tons of waste that are sent to landfill each year in Guatemala. It's one main landfill, and that landfill is in the middle of Guatemala City. So it's a huge problem. The landfill is overflowing. It's not just affecting the environment, of course, but it's also affecting the 1,500 workers that live in the surrounding areas. They are completely exposed to dangers, to like threats of their health. There's been avalanches of waste, so the problem was very alarming as I was studying this. And not just that, but 70% of this waste was considered useless because of the high percentage of humidity, since it's comprised of mostly organic waste, like all of our household waste. If you do a zoom out and you see the municipal solid waste, it's mainly organics. And this is considered useless. And I say useless sarcastically because with UBQ, it no longer is true. There's no useless waste. So that's kind of where UBQ comes in. When I graduated from my master's, I started again looking for opportunities to grow my impact, and UBQ was a gold mine. I remember in my interview, I had so many questions because I said there must be a catch, like there must be something that I don't know. This is too good to be true, and it wasn't. So I immediately joined once I learned more about the company, and I learned that it was a solution that already existed, and huge companies like McDonald's were already using it, and it was a completely circular solution that is a climate positive and actually doing something good for the environment. It was a no-brainer for me to join.
Yeah, and that I think takes us very well towards UBQ. And let's talk a little more about the origins of the company and how it was formed and how this idea came to your founder, and then how the whole technology evolved. And of course, I agree with you. Like as I am interviewing you, I'm also I also have many questions. Does this really work? Is this real? And, because after having seen the video and team Alex having done a lot of research, we were both like, it'll be great to talk to Daniela and really understand how it works. But before we get into the technology side of it, it'll be good to know the origins and how it happened and how the company has evolved.
Of course. So UBQ has been around since 2012. It was 7 years in stealth mode, so a lot of R&D in our Tselim facility. Tselim is in the south of Israel. UBQ, after going through so much research and development, has created the first bio-based thermoplastic made entirely from unsorted household waste. So, unsorted household waste means all organics and unrecyclable materials. So, the dirty diapers, the chicken bones, the pizza box with the melted cheese, everything that is supposed to end up in a landfill, UBQ takes it and converts it into a bio-based thermoplastic.
How does the technology actually work? Because this seems too good to be real in the sense that all the landfills can manage then, I guess, over time. But then how does, because homogeneity as when you actually manufacture is so important, but here you're taking waste which can be so much variations in kind of what they are, and you're converting it into pellets, which are that's what I assume that you're doing, which can then be used to create different materials. So how does it work? How do you homogenize, or how you don't need to homogenize? I'm not saying that right, but
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that
No,
makes
but
stable.
it's a great question, and we
But
get this
yeah,
question a
how does
lot.
that work?
So UBQ takes exactly what you just said, a heterogeneous waste stream that is typically unrecyclable and includes everything I just mentioned and converts it into a homogeneous thermoplastic material, which is the UBQ material. So it's a great question how we do this. So UBQ is a physical process that sets off a chemical reaction. As we discussed, landfill waste is comprised of mostly organic waste. About 80% of municipal solid waste is organic. Basically, UBQ takes all of these organics and breaks them down into its basic particles, which is lignin, cellulose, fibres, and sugars. And these are reconstituted with the mixed plastics that are also in the waste stream. And as a result, there's a new, completely new and patented material that acts as bio-based thermoplastic. And this thermoplastic is used as a climate positive substitute to mostly plastics, but also to research other research depleting raw materials. So wood and oil-based plastics can be substituted in various applications from various industries with a climate positive material. So brands and manufacturers with an easy material swap, which is UBQ, they can already reduce the environmental impact that they have. And since UBQ's applications can be implemented across industries and across applications, they can actually have an impact anywhere in their supply chain. So it can be in their logistics, it can be in their final products. We are working with PepsiCo, for example, and they are using shipping pallets made with UBQ, or they're also developing display stands made with UBQ. So you see that the impact these huge companies can have is across the supply chain, and it's sometimes what we like to call invisible plastics. So it's when we think of plastics, we think of plastic straws or we think of plastic bags, but plastics are everywhere. Imagine all the pipes in a building. Those are made of plastic. Imagine if we could substitute all pipes in a city with a material that is made entirely from waste, unwanted waste, because what we take is waste that the recyclers don't want and can't recycle. That's also very important to note that we are a complementary solution to recycling.
So if that is the case, say let's assume that whatever the waste is, UBQ can take it and convert it into something that is usable. Does that mean that all the landfills that are there, like we were talking about the central Guatemalan land dump or fill, would UBQ technology be able to take the material that has been lying there sometimes for years and then take it and convert it to something usable? Would that work?
I'm not sure if that could happen. It probably could, but we are more focused that the amount of waste that is still being generated is so big that what we're trying to do right now is just to divert the waste that is continued to be generated. And once we are able to tackle that problem, I think we would move on to cleaning the existing landfills. But I think that's reaching a bit far right now. It's like the way that lakes have been cleaned around the world. First, you need to stop all the effluents that are going into the lake before you see what is happening actually inside the lake. So that's kind of like what UBQ is trying to do, is to stop all of the waste that is currently being generated to end up in incinerators and to end up in landfills. Once that is stopped, then maybe we can definitely like move forward and take the waste that is already in the landfills.
That sounds like a smart direction to take. You're right. If you're not stopping the waste, then there'll never be an end to the landfill because it'll keep sort of
Yeah.
one way or the other, it'll keep growing. So are you saying that whatever material comes in from the waste, UBQ will be able to transform it? But yeah, like my query to you is that anything that comes in would be converted to a value added material. It doesn't matter what comes in.
100%. UPQ can convert the entire waste stream. That's exactly what differentiates us from other similar companies that are doing bio-based materials. We take absolutely everything in the waste stream, except for metals and minerals, which are taken out and sent to recycling. But that's the only thing that is taken out. And everything else, absolutely everything else, as I mentioned, the food, the garden trimmings, the mixed plastics that are considered, some of them already unrecyclable, products that have mixed materials, like a milk cardboard that has cardboard and plastic, or the peanut butter jar that has plastic and peanut butter. UBQ takes it all, and it's the only company doing that.
Wow, I have to come and visit you very quickly.
Yes.
No, that's amazing. If you are, and you said like early on that you also had these doubts and you were convinced in the end that this is real.
Yeah.
I literally am in a way so excited about what you're saying. And if that is real, then it's only a matter of time that we actually start converting our waste to a more value added substance. So let's move to the product. So the product that you create by taking all this waste is eventually a pellet that can be converted to numerous things. So talk to us more about the product that is created And what are the things that can come out of that?
We are working in various industries, from building and construction to supply chain logistics, consumer goods, and even automotive. In automotive, we're working with Mercedes-Benz. They've developed car parts with UBQ. And in supply chain and logistics, as I mentioned, PepsiCo is using shipping pallets. AB InBev is using crates. So any application between durable and semi-durable products is an application that UBQ can be implemented in by replacing a percentage of oil-based plastics in it. UBQ can replace up to 100% of the oil-based resins that are used to make this product. And the percentage that is used from UBQ depends on the product characteristics that are needed.
And when you say durable and semi-durables, is it only that, which basically means that they are heavier, thicker products? Or can the UBQ material also be used for, say, a thinner substrate, like a packaging material and things like that? Do you guys experiment with that as well?
So we are experimenting everything, but currently it is just thicker products. We do have some semi-durable, more flexible applications, mostly like rubber, but thin, very thin, like packaging like, it's still being developed. Hopefully, that will also be a product that will be available soon. The range of products that already exist in these durable and semi-durable applications are limitless already. So there's a huge impact that UBQ can already have and is already having. Also, thanks to our huge partners that have such a large impact and are industry leaders. The impact of UBQ, if we will take a few steps back and put this into numbers, for every ton of UBQ that is used, 1.3 tons of waste are diverted from landfill or incinerators. And this is equal to up to 11.7 tons of CO2 equivalent emissions that are prevented. So imagine these brands that are using X amount of tons, the impact is huge and it's always scalable. This is a breakthrough substitute to plastic that is giving industries across the board the opportunity to just rethink the way that things are being made.
The Good Garbage podcast has been brought to you by PACA. PACA has been creating solutions in the food packaging, carry, and service space. PACA utilizes sugarcane residue and upcycles it into amazing products. Their latest offering is a compostable, flexible packaging solution for the chocolate and confectionery industry. The products are available in the Indian subcontinent and in North America now. PACA is also building an end-to-end solutions for customers in the food service and delivery space. For any query, do email at connect@paca.com, and PACA is PAKKA. Now, back to the show. If we look at the final material that is being created, say we take the crates that you were talking about, which is a good durable product. It will have certain characteristics, and I guess in the end it might also end in landfill. So is UBQ's material infinitely possible to create into UBQ material again? How does that work?
Yes.
Like, does that come into, if it comes into the waste stream again, which probably it will at some point, how does that affect UBQ?
Yes, that's one of the questions that I asked, one of the first questions that I asked in my interview with UBQ. And UBQ is indeed a highly recyclable material that can be looped back into the circular economy for reuse, as you loop back any other plastics into recycling, and it is recyclable for more times than a general conventional plastic.
And what is the size of the? I guess from the video that I saw on UBQ, I presume there is one site right now. And what is the quantum of material that you can handle now? And what is the plan to expand this? Because this seems like a miraculous technology. The more we install it across the world, the better it is, and the faster we grow it, the better it is. So what is the current size? How much material can you guys process? And what is the plan for growth?
So we're really at an exciting stage right now in our company where we're scaling up. We currently have an operational facility in the south of Israel that handles 7,000 tons of UBQ. We are opening a new facility in the Netherlands by the end of this year, which will have the annual capacity of 80,000 tons of UBQ. This is our first industrial scale facility, and we do plan to be all over the world. This facility in the Netherlands will reuse the waste generated in surrounding areas, utilizing local waste to fuel local materials production. And hopefully also we will be able to expand in the world and have also the waste that is the material that is being shipped to clients also more localized and having a more environmental process and system and supply chain.
No, that's superb. I think more localization is always great. But why the Netherlands? How did Netherlands come about, and why did you choose that?
So it was a great opportunity because, as I mentioned, we are also diverting waste from incinerators, but also the just the current situation in the country and the support from the government was also very helpful, and the just the opportunity because we do dry and shred our waste before it is turned into the UBQ pallets. That's also part of the process. So everything, the circumstances in the Netherlands were just ideal, and the support that we got from the people there were also ideal. Just how you mentioned when you also moved to Guatemala and saw opportunities there, you saw opportunities in the people. So it was the same thing for the Netherlands. We got a lot of support from different different entities that were needed to get this up and running, and it's still a project that is almost done, and it's about to be operational, hopefully very soon.
Amazing. I'm sure it will be a big success. And I would have, my automatic assumption would have been grow in Israel first, finish all the waste that's going into the landfill, and then go somewhere else. But I presume there must be reasons. And like you said, it must be maybe government support, it may be people support, desire. And of course, Netherlands is a very forward looking country and people. And I presume that was the case, but I'm sure Israel would want UBQ, to succeed there as well. So that
Yeah.
takes me well to the side of costing and pricing. So in the end, I'm sure there is a certain amount of cost that is incurred to create the material. How are you in terms of competing? And of course, I understand this still at kind of pilot scale, going to commercial scale, but I'm sure you guys are working out the cost structure and the pricing structure. So, say in comparison to the materials that you're trying to replace or partially replace, it could be any kind of poly-based material, petroleum-based material. How do you stand in terms of your cost structure and then, of course, the pricing structure?
Yeah, so as opposed to oil-based plastics, which come from a natural resource, and I'm not sure if you've seen lately how the oil prices are fluctuating, and sometimes they are extremely high and sometimes they are extremely low. This directly affects the price of conventional oil-based resins. As opposed to that, UBQ is made entirely from waste, and waste, unfortunately, is an abundant resource. So we do have stability in our feedstock, which allows us to set the price and offer an environmentally viable solutions for all of these brands and manufacturers that are looking to replace these materials without compromising the profitability of their business.
So when we talk about, say, maybe we talk in comparison to, say, if a person was to use a petroleum-based material versus a finished UBQ material, would it be more expensive? Would it be less expensive? My assumption would be it would be less expensive because, like you said, the waste is in abundance. It's a relatively free resource. But that said, I'm sure there is a process cost that comes in to being, and that probably has certain amount of energy, certain amount of effort to be able to convert. So what would will the final cost be much lower than a plastic? Similar? Higher? Where would that be?
So, because the prices of plastics fluctuate so much, it is very hard to say if it's going to be lower or higher, but it is definitely competitive and it can be paired one to one with the price of plastics. But it definitely depends because the price of plastics is going up and going down and fluctuating all the time. So sometimes it will be probably more expensive, sometimes it will be way less expensive. It definitely depends on what's going on their side and the production and the what's happening with the oil supply.
Okay, so let's look at how UBQ is growing. So if you are to think about maybe 5 years or 10 years from now, what is the quantum of waste that you would like to be handling through UBQ technologies? And I presume the way to grow for UBQ would be also to find ways to franchise the technology so that I guess it can spread more. And again, that may be an assumption, so you can tell me if that is the case. And how much waste do you guys think you would be able to create value out of in the next, say, 10 years?
So I would like to answer your question, but with the number of the material instead of the waste, because in the end, it's very important for us to communicate that we are a material company and not a waste management company. So, as I mentioned, for every kilogram, it's for every kilogram of, or for every ton of UBQ, it is 1.3 tons of waste. But we are expecting, so right now we have a capacity that will be about 80,000 tons in the Netherlands. In the next 5 years, we're aiming to have about 3 to 5 new facilities with a capacity of 100,000 tons each. So I expect that we will be able to expand at a very accelerated rate and achieve these 5 facilities of 100,000 tons. But yeah, I would say that's an approximate number, but ideally, this is where we want to be, and we want to grow our impact exponentially. And if in the next 5 years we have 3 new facilities, in the next 10 years we hope to have 10 new facilities or more. So we do expect to be scaling up at a accelerated rate and exponential rate. The Netherlands facility, as I mentioned, is the first industrial scale facility. After this is already up and running and it's operational, I think the following facilities will be kind of just a trickling effect and it will be a lot faster.
And are you limited by the technology? Why you are limiting it to say 100,000, or you think the technology will evolve to say 1 million tons, a single facility of 1 million tons? Because that's not that much when you consider waste. You can have 1 million tons of waste in a single city, so in a year. So is there a limitation on technology, or it's just what is known right now?
This is what is known right now. It's what we are working with in the Netherlands, 80,000 tons. So I think that if this amount works, it's easier just to build many facilities with this amount. And I'm hoping that in the next UBQ facility, we'll be able to handle more and more tons. But this is the approximation for the next 5 years, which is a calculation of 100,000 tons of UBQ per facility.
And what about the business model? You said, like you guys will like to grow another 3 facilities in the next 5 years, and maybe another 8, 10 facilities in the next 10 years. But is the business model to keep creating your own facilities, or do you want to find ways to even franchise and grow more inorganically so that the quantum of UBQ materials is larger and obviously from our perspective, the waste handling is better than what it is today?
Yeah, well, right now UBQ is opening its own UBQ facilities. Of course, we are working with local people and with support from local organizations, local governments, everything that we may need. But we are always open to new opportunities, and collaboration is extremely important to achieve what we have to achieve. It's very clear to us that collaboration means impact, and what's most important for us is to grow our impact. The business model that is working for us right now is UBQ opening its own facilities, but we're always open to new opportunities and new collaborations, and it totally depends on the circumstances for each facility. Every country is so different, and every country requires, some countries have landfills, some countries have incinerators, some governments are incredibly supportive, some governments are not. So it definitely depends on the location, but we're always looking forward to new collaborations, just like expanding on the impact and collaborating. It's just like the same that we are collaborating between industries right now, to grow our impact, or also like considering industrial symbiosis to merge the waste sector and the plastic industry. So it's extremely important for us to have different players supporting us and just having impact in different areas as well.
Yeah, so that links us well to the side of consumption and the customer. What are the challenges that you face today in convincing a customer to buy the material? Because you do have great names there, Mercedes and Pepsi, etc., etc. But I'm sure there must be some kind of challenge there, because if because otherwise the customer would say, no, produce more material and we will buy it all, and that would, of course, in the end, finance the plants as well. So, what are the challenges that you see today, and how do you plan to overcome those challenges?
So we're working mainly B2B right now. We have started to be in retailers with the Remax, which is a Colombian company that has pet products. And Home Depot, you can find them, for example, and they've already made products with UBQ. But for example, our collaborations have been also mostly with Mercedes-Benz and with these other companies that I mentioned, Mainetti, that they do garment hangers. So we've done mostly B2B. I would say that the challenge is lower right now, but a few years ago it was overcoming this disconnect between the sense of urgency that we feel in the application of more sustainable technologies and the perspective of the customer of our customers, or potential customers, that they believe it might not be necessary to make this shift, or that they still have time. But more than feeling a challenge with our customers, because I think we're in a different place right now in the world where companies are noticing that they have to change and that consumers are demanding more sustainable materials. So I feel that the greatest challenge, more than with brands and manufacturers that we work with, is the slow pace of change for standards and policies to take place. So I think it's mainly that has been a challenge in the industry in general, because it is these policies that can set a new standard, and in not just like one industry but across industries. So if they would feel the same urgency, I think it would be a lot of easier for us to scale and implement our solution in a way faster pace, because climate change is here and it's now, and it is, the solutions are already here as well. So we just need the scalability to happen in a faster pace.
So, considering that UBQ material is um, from the conversation we've had is performing similar to a petroleum-based substrate, or maybe even better, and it is also price competitive in the sense that if the fuel price is average, then it's 1:1. So why is it that you need more government policy support? Because so coming from a space of business and economics, in the end, if there is product that is performing well, has the right pricing, and does additional good, why should it need policy support at all? Why not just be in the market and have the demand? Why is it that you need policy support then?
I think it opens eyes for many players in the industry, also for investors, also for potential clients that haven't looked at UBQ and that we also don't know about them. So there's always room for more opportunity. We are already in the market, and it is already um, a solution that is already being implemented by industry leaders. But it would just be something that would accelerate and open eyes to new players, such as the ones that I mentioned, investors and new and new clients, but also just getting support in entering a new market, from the local government as well. There's many different ways and to open a new facility, and you need the collaboration of so many different entities.
For sure, and waste is a difficult area. It may look simple, but the management of waste, who's managing it, who's tipping it,
I
who's going to
think being
deliver it,
from India,
and I'm
you know
sure,
how
yeah.
it can get very complicated, like in our
Oh my gosh,
countries.
yeah.
It is a very delicate subject, so definitely policies play a huge role.
Yeah, definitely. I can totally understand you from a perspective of the input material. You will need policy support because typically, there are so many laws that are governing, and there are so many vested interests that are governing waste. So till you don't have policy saying that yes, you will take your tipping truck and dump it at the UBQ site instead of the landfill, nobody will do it. So yes, for sure. From that perspective, I totally understand.
But I think it's
Yeah,
also
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
just the input material, but also our output material, the like the material that we're actually selling. So I think that if there are policies of the amount of natural resources that you can use in making your products, or the amount of that there would be a minimum of bio-based material that you would have to use, this would just give like an extra push to also our existing customers and to just the others that haven't even considered making such changes, because we have everything. So it would be just like an extra encouragement to make a transformative shift.
For sure, I agree with you. It does push people, and at least, like you said before, it opens people's eyes that, this is something that is there and we need to work on it. And you're right that, things are changing fast. People are getting more aware. And of course, policy shift will enable that more and more. What are the applications, forthcoming applications that you're most excited about? What are the applications that UBQ will put special focus on and make sure they grow? Because when you're talking about applications, I'm thinking that the possibilities are limitless. Even if you look at just crates, there'll be millions and millions of tons of crates that are built every year and disposed every year. When you look at vehicles, again, different parts are in maybe not a million tons, but 100,000 tons of certain sort of fiber kind of products. So are there certain applications that are going to be the focus for UBQ? And then, what are those, and how excited are you about the next developments?
So UBQ, by the way, stands for ubiquitous. Like the problem of waste is ubiquitous, the solution is also ubiquitous, and the applications are limitless. But mainly, the application that we would like to be focusing on is building and construction, because the products are a broad range, and it's like also a easy applicability, and there's also a great shift in green building happening around the world. But we of course do not limit ourselves in any industry or any application. We are just looking forward to anything that is made of plastic, really. So yeah, from consumer goods, automotive, and we are collaborating with new automotive brands. There are some also compounders that we are working with and making new compounds with UBQ. So the applications are limitless. We look forward to all of them. It's like a you don't have a favorite child, so you can't have a favorite application. It's just anything that really can help us replace resource depleting raw materials in different industries and help brands and manufacturers lower their environmental footprint and reduce their emissions, and we can preserve our natural resources with an easy material swap in any of the applications that you can think of.
I like the idea of ubiquitous, so it's like, in a way, application agnostic. You want a material and you can apply it to numerous materials, and I hope that will enable a lot of shift to happen in the coming times. And that takes me to my final question, which I'm always excited to hear. What does good garbage mean to you?
Well, I think after speaking so much about garbage and about UBQ, for the UBQ vision, which is a world without waste, good garbage is no garbage at all. I mean, it's garbage that can be transformed into a new material that lives another day and can serve another purpose. So, bottom line, good garbage is no garbage at all.
Super. That is definitely in line with our thinking as well. There should be no garbage for and then, the beauty of our planet keeps getting more and more restored. Daniela, thank you so much for taking your time, for doing the work that you guys are doing at UBQ. It means a lot to this planet. And I thank you so much for taking the time and talking to us and giving us your insights.
Thank you so much, Ved, and I'm really happy that you're helping us share our mission, and hopefully that way we'll expand our impact as well.
Thank you for listening to the Good Garbage podcast. Follow us on social media to never miss an episode. Links are in the description below. I'm your host, Ved Krishna. See you next time.